recognition of structural elements, management of beams, joints, plates within a model, visual representation, inspection of every little detail. SDC Verifier is happy to offer you these options. Hi engineers! This video is all about SDC Verifier software, and you're about to discover one of our popular recognition tools, which is called Beam Member Finder. I'm working with SDC for ANSYS, and this is my model in ANSYS Mechanical, which consists of solely beams. Getting straight to SDC, let's expand recognition, and among other tools you can see Beam Member Finder, or we can go to recognition section in the ribbon and select Beam Member. Beyond doubt, Beam Member Finder plays an important role in structural engineering software because it helps engineers quickly identify beam members within a model. It also calculates buckling length, which is later used in standards like ANSYS, Eurocode 3, etc. for beam buckling calculations. It speeds up the workflow, reduces mistakes, and improves an accuracy of structural analysis, especially in complex engineering models. Before I go into details with all functions in this tool, let's recognize beams by clicking on one button, Find. The message "Do you want to update joints before recognizing beam elements?" warns the user it might be necessary to carry out some updates, as beams are based on joints from Joint Finder. Immediately we can see the number of existing beam members, 90 in our case. We can check their length in the list for all three lengths in Y, Z, and length torsional, taking into account local element coordinate system. I need to mention that Beam Member Finder is based on mesh connectivity. We can edit them one by one by joints. So let's select, for example, a beam member number 5, and we can see it is split by 4 joint submembers, and we can add or we can remove these submembers, these connections on this point to split them manually if needed. Selected members can be previewed, and also they can be found by elements. We can edit them one by joints. And let's select, for example, number 5 beam member, and we can see it is split by 4 joint submembers. We can add or we can remove connections on these points to split them manually if needed. And selected members can be previewed and also found by elements. We can also take a use of a nice option filter. It can be used to quickly modify data like length, length factor, CM type for the members, for example, that are bigger or equal 12 meters. Now click Filter, and you can see the list of such beams and their length. Members can also be filtered by selection, by elements. You can select elements directly in ANSYS. And also, if to filter members with different element orientation, we can see the list of all members where Y orientation of elements is different with 0.01 degrees tolerance. Different orientation has an influence of calculations of CB factor in moment ratio 2, where bending moments are taken in beam local coordinate system. It is recommended to make changes directly in the model to use correct bending moments. And getting back to length Y, for example, what I would also like to point out is that break joints options define which type of joints will be used to split beam members on sub-members. And there are three predefined break joint options. They are length Y, length Z, custom, and torsion. And it is possible to modify all four options. Also, plate 2D and 3D joints by default are used to break Y and Z directions and not torsional. And by default, for members that are fixed by plates in Y or Z directions, the effective length factor is set to 0.01, which is 1% of length. And to set manually length and length factor or CM type to selected members, we can use this set to selected group box. And to calculate CM reduction moment factors for API to ARP, ISO, and NORSOC standards, it is required to define beam member CM type. Now, briefly about settings. Beam member title can be edited, and also properties and center locations can either be included or excluded. The selection can also be modified by adding conditions. I prefer a full model in my settings in this case, so I'm pressing cancel. As already been mentioned, beam member recognition is based on joints, and in SDC Verifier there is a separate joint finder tool developed specifically for joint recognition. By pressing this Edit Joints button, it is convenient to modify joints if needed directly in Joint Finder window. Also, we have a separate video on our channel devoted to this tool. It will be attached below, so go check it out. If duplicate members happen to belong to your model, they can be edited with this function. Selected items can be highlighted in ANSYS Mechanical. And all beams from the list can either be expanded, you can see, or collapsed. Lastly, let's discuss these options to the right. This is actually an alternative way to edit separate beam members in all directions. Now with Ctrl A, let's select all beams and let's check the plotting options. We can see plenty of them, but let's plot members with ID labels, for example. The plot will be displayed with the corresponding numbers at the center of the beam or sub-member. Now getting back. Also, Elements can be selected and highlighted in the table. You can use export selected beam member component. You may highlight selected beam or submember, or show selected beam in submembers. Okay, I covered pretty much everything about Beam Member Finder tool. If you have any other questions on how to get started with SDC Verifier software, online help on our website may come in handy. So go to Software, Online Help, Help for SDC for ANSYS. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos to come.